Good morning, everybody. This is Betsy Wurtzel, host of Chatting with Betsy on Patriot World Talk Radio. It is Wednesday, December 11th. I cannot believe how fast this year is going, and with Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa just around the corner, people think that everyone should be happy during the holidays. We had this, illusion that, everyone's happy, it's a happy time for families. Not necessarily so. And there are many people, including myself, who struggle with depression and grieving during the holiday time. I want to make the listeners aware that depression increases during the holiday time. The suicide rate is higher. There are many calls to therapists. They are booked. When I was going to a therapist a few years ago, I even asked him, my therapist, and he said, yes, the increase in the workload is tremendous because people are grieving. Now, on Chatting with Betsy, I am going to talk about uncomfortable subjects. And I want to bring out the uncomfortable and let us get comfortable with it. I'm going to bring out grieving. I'm going to bring out depression. I am going to bring out suicide and everything else that gets pushed under the rug or shoved back into the closet. No, on this show, I'm bringing it out into the sunlight, out into the spotlight where it belongs, so people are aware. I want to suggest to people right now that if you are suffering with depression during the holiday time, do not feel that you're alone in this. If you feel that you need help, please reach out to someone. Reach out to a medical professional. Go call your mental health clinic, hospital. You cannot be refused treatment. So I wanted to just say that at the beginning of the show because I think it's very, very important. And I have a special guest with me today who I love as a brother, Ralph Lake. I want to welcome you to Chatting with Betsy. You are amazing. I want to thank you for talking to Josh. So kind of you to mentor Josh at this time that he's going through. So welcome, Ralph.
Good morning, Betsy. Thank you so much for the warm welcome and the kind words. And Josh is very welcome, and you're amazing as well, I want to say.
Thank you. And if we lived close, Ralph, we would hang out during the holidays.
We certainly would.
And have some fun, get our minds off of what we're going through. And I want you to tell the listeners, what is it like for you? Because you lost your mom around Christmas time, and you have lost another loved one. I believe you told me, like in the beginning of January, you lost another relative. And I think it's very difficult when relatives die any time of the year, but especially during, a holiday time. And I think when someone sees an empty chair at the Thanksgiving table or where they sat at the Christmas table, it is hurtful. It is painful. And I don't know about you, Ralph. You could tell me how you feel. I get really mad when people say, get over it. It's enough time already. Move on. I feel this way. I will get through this with Matt. I will never get over losing my soulmate. But I will get through it. But that doesn't mean I will get over it. Same thing with my father. I got through it. I won't get over it. that's just, when my dad died, it was in July, right before July 4th. He died on July 2nd. I felt such a huge hole in my heart that I didn't expect. I really didn't expect to feel that. And I felt that I just wanted to go to the cemetery and lay down at his grave and just touch the earth. Now, that might sound really bizarre to some people. Excuse me. But that's how I felt. And I would like for you to share your feelings, Ralph, about the holidays and what you're going through.
Yes, the holidays are particularly a rough time for me. As you stated, I lost my mom December 22nd of 2015, which was 3 days before Christmas. And that was incredibly hard for me, because me and my mom, of course, were very close. She was my best friend, my heart, my everything. My just awesomest cheerleader in the world, the one who had my back unconditionally, loved me unconditionally. So to lose her around the holidays was particularly hard. The process going up to that point when she passed on, including burying her, took a tremendous toll on me. Because I felt like my sister's health had started declining at the same time. I didn't really have her support, because I could tell something was off with her. So I kind of had to go through the process of being in charge, so to speak, in terms of making decisions on my mom's behalf and to actually, getting her laid to rest. That was all, tasked to me. And, it was a huge thing for me. I don't think people really quite understand how much that was a really big thing for me. So I guess to lay anyone to rest is hard. When it's your mom and when you're placed with such a task and you've never done it before, it's incredibly hard. So yeah, the holidays are particularly hard for me for that. And then on top of that, I've lost several relatives over the countless years. Some around the holidays, some just during the earlier part of the year. I had a brother that passed away, sadly, this past summer. And so the holidays are a particularly rough time for me because I think about those who just, while everybody, like you said, is kind of in a very celebratory mood and festive and everything, there's many whose loved ones that they used to celebrate the holidays with or who you're used to being there, they just aren't there. And so, or in the physical. And so it's hard because, people, like you said, will tell you to get over it if it's been some time. And there's really no getting over it, like you said. You learn to live with that pain, but you never really quite get over it. It's sort of like I had to have surgery to have my appendix removed some years ago, and it's like I still have those scars. So even though, the surgery was successful, they was able to remove my appendix before it burst and all that good stuff, I still have the scars. It's pretty much with the when it comes to loved ones or friends who we've lost. No matter how much time has elapsed, you still have those wounds on your heart because those are our loved ones. There are those are and matters and people who are deep in our hearts. Those causes wounds that will always be there. So it's really no getting over it. You just kind of learn to live with it. But yeah, it's particularly hard, especially around the holidays where everybody is so happy and joyous. And I know quite a few people that have, so many people who've lost sons this year, daughters, cousins, best friends. I mean, it's a particularly rough time for many. And so, yeah, I think there's really no getting over it. I think you just kind of learn to live with it. And no matter how much time has passed, even if it's been 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago, you still feel that pain in your heart, especially around the holidays, because, you're feeling you feel like you're missing a part of yourself, or you're missing something, or missing someone, rather. And yes, it's particularly rough for many.
Yes, I agree. And I was saying, Ralph, I have like this picture.
Expert call to find.
Like grief to me is like clothing. Sometimes it's a winter coat. It's heavy, and you feel it that it's heavy on your shoulders. Sometimes it's a sweater. It's light. It's there, and it's on you. And grief will always be a part of our lives.
Yes.
And it will always be with us. Many years ago, I remember telling Matt when his mom passed away, even before, when you start grieving the loss of who they are, that grief is like an ocean. It will knock you down and take you, in its undertow. And then I see things on Facebook, that say that. But this was not talked about 18 years ago. Do you feel that people are uncomfortable with you because they know that you are sad at this time and they don't know what to do for you or they don't know what to say?
Yeah, I found that to be the case, that people often, like you said, don't know what to say. They don't know how to really react to somebody who's grieving around the holidays. And some even do particularly get mad at you because they feel like, well, I'm happy and my family's happy and joyous and we're, in the holiday spirit and you should be too. And it's like,
yes.
Well, I'm great that you're happy. It's not that I'm not happy that others are happy and festive and celebratory. It's just that, for others, it is a particularly hard time. And I think, there are those that need to be understanding, or we would like for them to be understanding, I should say. But there are those that are hurting around this time particularly. So, yeah, that's something I would like to see more of, definitely. But, yeah, I have noticed that some people get angry. Some people get upset. Some people, just like you said, just don't know what to say. So, yeah, I have experienced that, definitely.
People, I feel this way, Ralph. I think people have this Norman Rockwell drawing in their mind that every family is hunky-dory, happy, It's not like that. There's dysfunctional families. Even before a loved one passes on, they stay dysfunctional. There's people could have, their own personal troubles. But I'm finding, especially now that Matt is in the late stage, and I've had people say this to me recently, I don't know what to say, Betsy. I don't know what to say to you. And I'm seeing more. I mean, I've heard about this. Now I'm experiencing this myself. People either will say, not say anything for fear of hurting your feelings, and they feel uncomfortable, or they say something so totally off the mark. There's one thing, and I even told this to Josh, I don't like it, and you can tell me if you like this or not. I don't particularly like when people tell me or Josh to be strong. How do you be strong when your loved one, whether it's your mom, your dad, brother, sister, close relative, your spouse, your partner, how do you be strong during the holiday time when you're thinking of them or when you see them passing before you? I think it's very difficult, and the biggest mistake, I think, Ralph, is that people think they have to be strong, and then they suppress their grief, and then it comes back and bites them in the butt instead of just embracing how they feel. Do you find that? How do you find that? Do you find that to be true for you? I mean, I know everyone is different.
I have found for me that, yeah, I do get a little annoyed when people say be strong, because while I already intuitively know that it's going to take strength to get through the holidays or to get through, tragedy that is, befallen, it's kind of like, yeah, I kind of already know that. I already know that it's going to take some type of strength. And I don't necessarily have to, not knowing from a cocky standpoint, but you kind of intuitively know that it's going to take some type of inner strength to get through what you're going through. So, yeah, that can be, that I have found that to be a little annoying, because we're all human beings, at the end of the day. I always, tell people, although I look like Superman, I'm very much. I have the glasses like Clark Kent, but I'm a flesh and blood human being, so I'm gonna go through emotions in times where, I break down and I might get upset or, have outbursts or something. It's part of being human, and so, and I don't think it's possible for anyone to be strong all the time. I think, that's kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of a falsehood that you can be strong
exactly.
all the time, because there's just no way. I mean, you're going to go through days, and there's times and days where, out of the blue, some memory of my mom or a loved one comes up, and I get choked up with emotion and start to cry. That happens. But people will tell you, well, you have to be strong all the time. Well, yeah, I'm strong. I'm not saying I'm a weak person, but yeah, no one can be strong all the time. You're going to feel emotions, and that's perfectly fine. It doesn't make you any less of a man or a woman if you display any kind of emotion. That it has absolutely nothing to do with that. It's about being a human being, and you're going to have days of experiencing the full emotions of a human being. You experience days of joy, days of sadness, days of feeling euphoric, to days where you're feeling just kind of meh, to days that where you're laughing. I mean, it just happens, and that's just part of being human. It's part of the human experience. So I don't think that it's capable for anyone to be strong all the time. And there's times during that where I feel like we need the most support and help. I hope I haven't jumped the gun too soon on your questioning, but definitely.
I understand.
Yeah, definitely during those times is where people need to gather around and really be supportive of that particular person that's suffering. Because
absolutely.
And some people, I know you said that, and it's true, that some people say they don't know what to say. And times like that, sometimes words aren't even necessary. Sometimes a gentle hug or holding of the hand, or just being there, or being a listening ear. Those are things that matter, because I know a lot of people say that. They don't know what to say. Well, you don't have to say anything. Just be there. Show that you're there with that loved one going through that, or that friend going through what they're going through. Because sometimes in a lot of moments, words do tend to fail, because there's really nothing, not much you can say. But just simply being there for that loved one means everything in the world. And so I would encourage those who often feel that they don't know what to say to someone who's experienced loss or was grieving during the holiday season or in the process of losing a loved one, to just, in those moments where you just don't know what to say, just simply be there. It's just simply be. That is the most valuable and most important thing you can do for that person that's grieving or that's having a hard time during the holidays. Just simply be there with them. Give them a hug. Let them know you're there and you're fully there with them, and that you love them, because they are going through a rough time. Yeah.
I agree, Ralph. I was just telling Jeannie before he came on, and I also told a friend of mine, because they said, well, I don't know what to say to you, Betsy. So, okay, you don't know what to say, so you ignore me then? So you don't contact me or communicate with me at all because you don't know what to say?
Mm-hmm.
So I told this person, you know what? I don't expect you to fix my problem. You can't fix Matt. I can't fix him. I do it myself. We want an ear for people to hear us without judgment. We want a shoulder to lean on, to cry on, and 2 arms to hug us if you are in close distance, obviously, and just to know, that you are there. Just for someone to hug you and say, I'm here for you, Ralph. I'm here for you, Betsy. I know there's nothing I can do to alleviate your pain, but I am here, and I will help you get through this. Not over it, but through this as best as possible. Because there is no getting over a loss of a loved one. And sometimes, people say, well, time heals all wounds, or it gets, that's another big one. It gets easier. Well, for some folks, it doesn't get easier. My mom, it doesn't. My dad's been gone almost 8 years, and my mom says it's harder for her. She misses my dad more. And that could be the case with some people. There's nothing, wrong with somebody, moving on, or they choose to, date again, or, that's fine. But that doesn't mean that you forgot about that person.
Exactly. Yeah, it's definitely no forgetting about them. Yeah, and everybody, does grieve differently and handle it a little different. Some, like you said, are able to kind of, bounce back in a certain amount of time and kind of carry forward with, but then there are many that, like you said, that just still struggle. And so that's, to be understood as well, I don't think grieving is any kind of one-size-shoe-fits-all kind of situation. I think it's kind of a case-by-case basis. And like you said, no judgment either way. It's just, kind of the way it is,
Right. And there's no time limit to grieve. There's no right or wrong way to grieve.
No.
And people,
no instruction manual. It's just what's the word I'm looking for? It's just through experience. It just is what it is. It's just, there's no kind of you can't Google it. You can't do any of that stuff. It just is what it is.
Yes.
For lack of a better word.
Excuse me. And everybody is different. Everyone handles grief differently.
True.
Everybody experiences it differently. If someone had a bad relationship with the one who passed on, they may not grieve. They may not show any emotion. I think, Ralph, that people are so quick to judge others. Oh, they didn't cry at the funeral. Why aren't they crying? Are they not sad that that person died? What's wrong with them? How come they don't show any emotion? You know what? People may not cry right then and there because, A, they might have already cried themselves an ocean full 1,000 times over. They may not want to display, a public emotion, and they might go home after that funeral and have a breakdown. Nobody should judge anyone from what they think a person should look like at a funeral. Right. I mean, it's just crazy sometimes, people's judgments.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
And I just, people think, oh, Betsy, why are you having a show about this? It's holiday time. How can you talk about something as depressing as grief and depression, because it needs to be brought out.
I couldn't agree
more. A lot
more.
of times, yes, people commit suicide a lot this time of year, and then people will think, oh, well, they were smiling just a day ago. Yeah, they were smiling because they're afraid of people judging them as they show that they're sad.
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely. I think about a famous person like Robin Williams.
Yes.
For an example, he was a guy that no one would have thought in many years he was, had struggles or was ever down about anything. I mean, you always saw him. He was this very animated, happy-go-lucky kind of guy. But, he was an example of, he had some inner pain, some things going on in his life and such. But, he always kept up the facade of that he was this happy-go-lucky guy, just kind of silly, kind of wackiness. But, deep down, there was a lot of pain there. There was things that he was dealing with. And such. So you just never know. On the surface, people can look like they're doing fine. I mean, but underneath, there's a lot more going on underneath the surface. And he was one example for me of a guy that nobody would have ever suspected that he had the things that he had going on, and he had his own struggles and such, because he was just always this very lively character, this very lively individual. But those are the ones who mostly have the most going on, is those who are always kind of have this kind of like nothing's going on. They're okay. So there's if you scratch underneath the surface, there's a lot more going on than they tend to show. Because, like you said, they fear judgment. They fear people, drawing away from them. They fear, looking vulnerable. So they keep this facade going of like everything's okay, or that they're in this happy, joyous mood, and really underneath the surface, there's a lot of pain there. And so yeah, he was definitely an example for me when I think about that.
Yes, people say that Robin Williams committed suicide because he had Lewy body and he had the hallucinations. But I want to point out, I saw Robin Williams on many talk shows way before he was diagnosed with Lewy body, even as a youth, even as a young person, and he had everything. He was from a wealthy family.
Yeah.
And he went to private schools, which shows money doesn't buy happiness. But he had struggles with depression.
Oh, yes.
And just because someone has money doesn't mean they're not depressed, because money cannot buy inner happiness.
Yes.
It just doesn't buy that.
So true. Excellent.
We buy, things, or people might drink or take drugs to cover up their sadness. And usually a lot of your artists, your comedians, your musicians, you do have a depressive side. And I think out of sometimes tragedy comes their talent, comes their comedy to help them through the time that they had.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really a sad situation where men, especially men, Ralph, I feel, aren't allowed in the society to grieve openly or to show emotion, because they will be perceived as being weak.
Yes.
And I know I've said this before. We need to teach our sons it's okay to cry. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to be compassionate. I mean, personally, if I were to date again, I would be looking for a compassionate man. To me, that's a big contributing factor. Can this person feel compassion? And I think it takes a beautiful soul, especially in a man, to be able to show their vulnerability and to show emotion. I encourage that with Josh. Josh tells me he cries at wakes, and I say, you know what, Josh, that's great. That's great that you are comfortable in yourself to be able to show that and not worry what people think, because we wonder why then. Why did that man commit suicide? Why did this person do that?
Yeah.
Because people they had this facade. Oh, well, we have to look strong, especially your soldiers, especially your firemen, policemen. They are looked, down upon if they go for help, and it's just not right. It's wrong.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. They should not definitely be looked down upon. Indeed. Like you said, people look on the outside and think someone may have it going on, or they have the perfect physical physique, or like you said, money, or material riches, or whatever the case may be, and think that this person has it all. Why are they so sad? But like you said, no amount of money or your status in life or your physical physique or any of that can mask one's inner pain or one's grieving. You can have all the money or statuses or titles in all the world, but none of that will can satisfy your inner when you're hurting. So that's definitely an excellent point.
That's very true. I remember, I'm not sure if it was a year or two ago, I worked by railroad tracks. And someone who used to work with me, she called me and she said, or she texted me rather, she said, I know that guy they found on the railroad tracks. He's a friend of my husband's. We didn't know he had a problem. He seemed fine.
Mm-hmm.
And this you hear over and over again. And I want to bring up this important subject because I don't want people to feel alone this time of year. I know what it's like to feel alone. You know what it's like to feel alone, Ralph. We know what it's like to feel to be in that rabbit hole. And people, they had this image of me that, oh, Betsy, you're this strong person. Well, I might be a strong person to a certain extent, but I am human, and I do have my meltdowns. And I'm okay with that, and I want people to know it's okay to have a meltdown. It's okay to say, I'm not happy this Christmas time. I'm just not happy. Yeah. You know what? If you don't want to put up decorations, you don't have to. People feel like, oh, I have to do that. It's expected of me. No, you have to say to people, you know what, I'm not really into that this year. I'm not going to do decorations. Yeah. Or, I don't feel like going to this party, but thank you anyway. And I just, don't want to, do that right now. Ralph, how do you handle it during the holidays? How do you handle your grief? What do you do to help yourself through a tough time?
Betsy, I find myself usually trying to keep myself busy. I tend to work a lot, but I try to keep myself engaged in things, just to keep myself busy, whether it's going to movies or being around those who I know are definitely non-judgmental and definitely support me and have my back, and to engaging in different activities that I may come across, like I might decide to go volleyball or shoot pool. I find that those things tend to help me just to keep myself busy, and that tends to help me, during the holidays. for me, just to keep myself busy and occupied with something. It doesn't say that it makes it go away completely, because of course I still grieve and I feel that hurt. But yeah, keeping myself busy tends to kind of help me, kind of balances me out and stabilizes me, I should say, during this particular rough time of the year.
Sorry,
keeping
I get coughing.
Whether you exercise or what it may do, I feel like keeping oneself active is important. It definitely can help, or it's definitely helped me for sure.
Have you gone for? I know you've gone for grief counseling. Would you suggest going for counseling to somebody at this time of year if they haven't already?
Oh yes, I would definitely recommend that. I know I have done that, and it was of huge benefit. I'm so thankful I did. I once entertained the thought of not doing it, and I'm glad that I went ahead and did it, because I found that it really helped me get through, losing my mom. And it's also not something that one should just do once. I mean, if they feel like they need it, no matter how long it's been since their loved one passed or what they're going through, they should seek it, throughout the year, not just, during the holiday season, but whenever they feel they need it. Because, we all need that, and it's very therapeutic to ourselves and necessary for us to do. So I would definitely recommend that for sure.
I agree. I recommend therapy to everybody. I went myself. I'm not ashamed to say it. I went 4 years ago. I'm going to go after Matt's journey is over. Josh and I are going to take grief counseling that hospice offers. Josh already told me he wants to go for grief counseling. Mm-hmm. My mom, God bless her, she means well, she tells Josh to be strong for me. And I told Josh, Grandma thinks she's saying something to help you, to help me. I said to Josh, but you don't have to be strong for me, Josh. I don't expect you to be strong for me. You don't even have to be strong for yourself. You grieve your father however you want. You want to cry, you cry. Cry afterwards. There's no right or wrong way for you to grieve for your father now or later. I just think that, and again, it might sound biased. I think men really do have a harder time dealing with the grief or dealing with depression because of the stigma that society puts on them, and it's not right. And I want to shout it out to the world. Stop it. Just stop, folks.
That's it. Well,
that's like it. It's really a sad commentary for people to judge people how they grieve or if they are depressed. Wish more people would come out and say, you know what, I was depressed and now I'm going for help. It's no shame, and I keep saying this to Josh over and over again. Mm-hmm. I would say the same thing if I had a daughter, but especially to a son, because of the stress on them. I mean, how many soldiers commit suicide every day because, post-traumatic stress, or even caregivers, or, policemen. Josh knew a policeman. He knew a police officer.
Yeah.
And, I don't know how Josh thinks due to his disability, but one morning, I forgot how many years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, he came down crying, hysterical. I said, what's the matter? He said, a police officer I know from the movies, he was on a railroad track, and he was killed. Why was he on there? Why was he on there, Mom? And I had a discussion with him about suicide prevention, about depression. I said, I don't know this man's situation, Josh, but he really had to be in a very dark place to do that. And I told Josh, if you're ever in that dark place, please tell me and I will get you help immediately. And it's okay if you feel that way. Just please tell me.
Yes.
You know, I want people, Ralph, to maybe I live in a Pollyanna world, and I'm not a Pollyanna. I want people to feel okay in themselves because I know I didn't. I suffered from depression as a child. And when I went for help as a teenager, it was hush-hush back in 1974. Let me tell you, you didn't talk about that. That was something to be ashamed of. Until the movie stars in the 80s thought it was cool to go to a therapist. So then people started thinking it was, okay. So this person's going, so now I can admit that I had depression, and now I'm going to go to a therapist. But back in my day, when I was a teenager, it was a stigma, and my sister, she doesn't remember saying this to me, but she did. She used to call me psycho. She made fun of me because I went for help, and lo and behold, my sister went for therapy. So, folks, don't throw stones because you know what? You don't know what life has for you. You don't know what life has in store for you, and you might find yourself being depressed and needing therapy. And you wouldn't want anyone to stigmatize you or make fun of you for that. So don't do it to other people.
No doubt. Definitely. Yeah.
Ralph, I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing. I know it's difficult for some people to share such deep personal experiences. And do you have any pearls of wisdom how to deal with grief or depression this time of year that you would like to share?
I would just like for people to definitely just to be observant of the ones that are grieving during this time of year. I think that's a great, I want to say, starting point, because when you notice it, or if you notice any kind of signs of a person or friend being off or anything, sometimes they'll give signs. Then to please act. Also I encourage everyone, that are suffering and grieving through this time of the year to definitely seek counseling if they need help. There's no shame in it. There's no, like we discussed before, even if you're a man and you're a soldier or a policeman or fireman and you're grieving or you're going through something, to please seek help. There's definitely no shame in that. It doesn't make you any less of a man or a woman. We have to keep in mind we're human beings and we're not automated robots. And to always, seek help if you're struggling. To family and friends, I would, definitely, like I said again, to encourage them to keep eyes out and just surround that particular person that's going through something, or if there's an anniversary of a loved one coming up that's passed or anything, I strongly encourage them to just show support. And even if you don't know, again, you don't have the words to say to a person that's going through something, I just encourage them to just be there for them. You don't have to say anything if you just don't know what to say, because there's really not much we can say for someone who's grieving someone that they've lost, and it's the holiday season. And, we should be, I would encourage us all to be a little less judgmental, because like you said, Betsy, you never know what life has for any of us, and we ought to put ourselves in others' shoes. Even if we're in a celebratory spirit, just think of that there are those who, aren't so happy, joy, or celebratory during this time of year, that they're really hurting. And we ought to put ourselves and empathize with them and put ourselves in their shoes and try to be, reach out with a helping hand to show them it's, that we're here for them, that we love them, and that, and that we're just here for them. And it won't make it won't take the pain away, but at least let them know that they're not alone. And I think that's the most things that we could do for, those that are, definitely hurting around this time of year. And again, those that are suffering, I would encourage them to seek help, and to know that they're not alone. And, those would be my words of wisdom and advice for this time of the year.
Very good advice, Ralph. And I agree 100% with you. That's exactly what I would suggest. Great minds think alike. And how can someone get a hold of you, Ralph?
How can someone get a hold of me? I'm able to be reached on Facebook under Ralph Lake, RalphLake. That's on Facebook. On Twitter, I can be found at Deviant True Master. That's spelled Deviant. The word true, TRU, and master, MASTA. That's how I can be reached on Twitter. And then I can be reached on Instagram as well under RDLake317. Those are probably the best ways to get in touch with me.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ralph. Don't hang up. I'm going to end my show, and when the recording is over, hang on. I'd like to talk to you. This is Betsy Wurtzel, host of Chatting with Betsy on Passion World Talk Radio. Folks, please be kind, extra kind this time of year to people who you know are struggling. And don't judge. And you are a rising, shining star, a light in someone's world. So shine bright. And look in the mirror, pat yourself on the back, and say you're good enough and you rock. Whether you're a caregiver or not, pat yourself on the back and say, I'm doing a great job. And I want to encourage everyone to share these audio casts with people. People are telling their experiences to help others so you don't make the same mistakes that we made. Please share it. Please read the blogs that Jeannie White works so hard on. Great information on there, how to contact people and suggestions. Please get in touch with me if there are any particular topics you would like for me to discuss. You can follow me on my page, Betsy E. Wurtzel, Wurzel. You can get in touch with me there. I also have a group, #Kick Alzheimer's Ass Movement. We welcome all dementias. We welcome people who don't even have a loved one with dementia. They just want to educate themselves or to inspire others to be inspired. You're welcome to join. And Jeannie White is the producer. I love saying that. So have a blessed day, everybody, or just have a day. And, enjoy, if you can, whatever holiday you celebrate. And just show the love. This time of year, it's about love. And even if someone is grieving or you're grieving yourself, show the love. Show that extra love. Send a care package over if a caregiver can't cook. Throw a gift card into your loved one's caregiver. If you're in the facility, bring a special treat over. Love up on those hard-working people that are in these facilities that work on holidays. Just remember them. And that's what I want to say today, folks. Thank you so much, Ralph. Ralph is coming on again in the near future to talk about power of attorney and guardianship. I'm looking forward to that visit. Always a pleasure talking to Ralph Lake. He is my brother. I love Ralph as a brother. I want the world to know he's more of a brother to me than my own brothers. And he is a help to Josh, and I really appreciate Ralph mentoring Josh. I really do. So have a great day, folks. See you next time. Bye-bye.